What's their biggest concern right now if you're the Harris team?
Republicans do have an advantage in early vote numbers. When the early vote come in, it's going to look a little bit different than 2020, and that's scary.
So that is very interesting. Jim Messina with his take on the early vote so far. A couple things here we want to look back, all right? You've got a candidate on the ballot for the third time at the national level. So what does the end vote look like? Does it look like 2016 where Trump squeaked out a win here over Hillary Clinton? He swept the blue wall, made it red, Southeast red as well. Or does this election look more like 4 years ago, okay? Here's Biden squeaking out a win over Donald Trump, okay? What did he do? He flipped that red wall, made it blue yet again, then a little bit of blue down here as well in the Southeast. Let's go to this right now because Madison was just talking about the early vote. This is what happened in 2020. You had just shy of 159 Americans voting, okay? So far, right now, okay, no pandemic, no COVID, no nothing. You're at 77 million, so you're just about half of the total that we expect in the end. And among those, now there's a category of others, you know, sometimes they register as independents, et cetera. But based on party, based on the states and early voting that report by party registration, Democrats make up 41% and Republicans make up 39%. This is one of these things that Messina was talking about in the soundbite. And this is one of the things that I'll cruise on back over here and we'll bring in our guests here today. This is one of the things that Republicans like to see right now in the early voting. And we'll see how that shakes out once we add them all up there, Dana.
All right. Well, Harold Ford Jr. and Trey Gowdy are here with us, so no one better than to shake that out for us. So your thoughts about that and maybe the concerns that Messina has.
So good morning. Glad to be with you. Election Eve, Trey and I haven't been on the ballot. We understand how election eves feel for candidates across the country. I think you said it well over there at the board. I think it's important for people to realize early voting, what it means for a lot of places around the country, and it really battleground states are where we're most focused. As I think about the closing and the closing arguments, I think both have probably, Trey was saying in the green room, would have probably liked to do it a little differently. However, I think she's been a little more disciplined. I think in the last 3 or 4 days, she's been a little tighter in her message, more concise in her message. But as you look at the map here and where she's going to spend the night, where she's going to spend the day and perhaps the evening, it's Pennsylvania. Without Pennsylvania, Democrats can't win. And frankly, I don't think Republicans can win either without it. So this will be the focus today over the next 24 hours. And I got to tell you, this is like Christmas Eve for me. I'm excited as I can possibly
I was saying. Washington Post headline, Harris's team claims she's no longer the underdog, but Trump team scoffs. Don't know if that's true in the end, but what about Harold's thoughts there, Trey?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're Donald Trump, your closing argument should be twofold. Number one, you had 3 years to do whatever the next thing that comes out of your mouth is, and you didn't do it. And most Americans think our country's headed in the wrong direction. Instead, he spent the week explaining what someone else said at one of his rallies at Madison Square Garden. She, on the other hand, wants to be talking about turn the page. Joe Biden is not turning the page. He's the table of contents. He's the foreword to the book. And yet he uses the word garbage and she has to explain it. What I find fascinating about Pennsylvania is it's really a microcosm for the country. It's 2 urban centers with Texas in the middle. So who's going to win? It's no longer, I don't think, whatever the old political dynamic, it's now urban versus rural, and Pennsylvania, I think, proves that. Who can win, the cities or the rural area in between?
Here's something that is, I think that the Trump campaign would like to try to close on this one as well. They've been trying to define Harris for the last 100 days since she became the candidate. If you pull up call for number 3 here, these are the issues that Harris's team has declined to say whether she still supports. And it has everything from immigration and the Senate filibuster, the closing private for-profit prisons. She's called that morally wrong. She wants to install a climate envoy in every embassy around the world, et cetera. There's all of these things, Harold. And, you know, is that a reflection of the campaign being so truncated, so short, so she didn't have time to do that? Or does she not want people to know where she stands?
I don't know the answer to that, but I know this. If I were running against her, if I were Donald Trump, this is what I would have been talking about the entire time. I'm slightly surprised that President Trump is not closing at the border. I mean, I would have had the cameras there saying to the country, here's why I have to be president again to ensure that we get some reasonableness and sanity here. I think for President Trump, some of the undisciplined way he is closed has invited people or given people permission to think back about the things they didn't like about him 8 years ago. And the question is, do you want that in your living room? Do you want that in your dining room? Do you want that in your kitchen or your bedroom, wherever you consume television or media for that matter? And for her, I'm surprised that she didn't have to give a long-form interview. I'm surprised she didn't have to do more. I thought what she did with Brett, she did a good job. I would have done more if I were her. But we'll have an opportunity to say this Wednesday or Thursday. I think as we sit here today, she's in a good position. He's in a good position. It's interesting that he's going to spend as much time in Georgia that the Republicans are. I thought you would think that Georgia and North Carolina might be locked up, but in fact,
it seems like the play he's been running for the last 4 days is Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. Now, if you go to the board over there and add up electoral votes, that would be enough to get him back in the Oval Office. Just a couple things on that. If she wins, Trey, she would be the first candidate, certainly in the modern era, perhaps ever, who's never held a formal press conference. I don't know how you feel about that, but Nikki Haley went public. Here's her op-ed today. Trump isn't perfect, but he's the better choice. If you like his policies but are put off by his tone or excesses, consider the cost of the past 4 years. I don't know how you evaluate that, but Nikki Haley's weighed in twice now in the final 7 days.
Well, my first analysis is I never got in trouble for something I didn't say. So if you don't talk, it's hard to get in trouble. The problem with Kamala Harris is she has a voting record, and it was to the left of Bernie Sanders. I mean, very few Americans think death row inmates ought to be able to vote. Like maybe none. When I say very few, I mean none. But she did. So she either has to explain her change in position, which is always tough, or she has to just not talk. Donald Trump didn't participate in the primary debates. Katie Hobbs won in Arizona. I mean, I think it's on us as voters if we give people a free pass for not having to explain their positions. But both sides have done it in the past.
I hope it's a tradition that ends. I hope this is the last time that we allow the candidates to dictate to us, presidential candidates, when and how many debates they'll have. They should have 3 always, and they should split it up about the issues. But we'll have an opportunity to talk about this.
And Bill and Dana should moderate one of those.
Trey, with a Trump victory, however, have you given thought much to how it might be different from his first term?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't like it when I say this. I think 2016 caught them all by surprise. I'm not sure they were planning on winning. So vetting good cabinet. I mean, look at the number of original cabinet members that actually survived. So I know the folks running transition for him, they have been hard at work. I think you will see more closely vetted candidates. I think where he will get frustrated is the House is a slow-moving body. It starts all over again. So he may have an agenda, but the House takes a while to get cranked up. He's going to have to do it with executive action, which conservatives used to not like, but now they're okay with it.
It depends on the timing, right? Harold, any final last word?
I don't disagree with what Trey said about President Trump. I think Vice President Harris will have similar challenges. She has a little bit of an incumbency advantage. She'll be able to pick her team, but we got a long way before that.
And she'll likely have a Republican Senate to deal with.
Right, and hopefully a Democratic House. If not, if it's Republican House, Republican Senate, the country may like it because it'll slow things down, but it may frustrate her if she's president.
Get your sleep.
All right, guys.
And you
Thank
too.
you. Thanks,
All right.
so good
Thank
to
you,
have
Trey.
you
Thank
here.
you.
Counting the votes in Arizona tomorrow night could turn into a marathon, all thanks to a ballot in Maricopa County that is unusually long. Tell us more. Alicia Acuna, she's there in Phoenix with the story. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Dana. I spoke with a Maricopa County elections official who told me that the county is already, quote, backed up as it processes the early mail-in ballot here, and in large part that's because of the county's long ballot. It is 2 pages double-sided with an average of 79 different contests. It's twice as long as most years, so taking the pages out of the envelopes is double the time. This could impact voters in 2 ways. First, it's likely going to delay fuller results we historically see here in the hour after the polls close. We will still be able to report early results, but only a percentage as they catch up. Maricopa County says they are working 24/7 and have added shifts. And second, a long ballot can equal long lines on Election Day. We talked to a couple of people who said it took them about an hour.
It definitely took more time, and I felt like I did have to spend more time going into depth on everything on the ballot.
Are you concerned about the lines on Tuesday, people waiting while other people are filling out that long ballot?
I am concerned. ease of voting has always been a concern for me. So I think, the whole system needs to be reframed and really thought about to make voting easier for everybody, because it is a struggle here.
Maricopa County is a must-win in this state, and elections officials here say it could take between 10 and 13 days for the final tally. Dana, some people will remember we were standing here in 2020 and 2022. It felt like for days on end. It has to do with the election laws here and the order in which the ballots are allowed to be counted. So we're trying to establish kind of a level set for expectations because, again, Arizona is going to Arizona. So we're all just going to have to settle in. Dana.
Come on, Arizona.
Let's go.
Figure it out. Thanks, Alicia.
Hey, Dana, we showed you this a moment ago. Among the battleground states now, Democrats lead Republicans in turning out the vote. But it's only by 2 points. That gives Republicans a lot of hope that they can overcome this tomorrow with their in-person vote. Here's another thing we're looking at right now. Gender gap is huge right now. Men favor Trump by 18 points. Women favor Kamala Harris by 16, according to the poll that NBC put out. And here we go on the issues, all right? Immigration, Trump. Inflation, Trump. Economy, Trump. Unite the country, Harris. And abortion, Harris by 20 points, 53-33. So we'll gauge that gender gap come Tuesday night into Wednesday morning as well. One last thing here on women. They've turned out by 53% to men 44%. This is not battlegrounds. This is all the votes that have been cast thus far at this point. Typically, in a national election, women make up 52% of the vote nationwide. So that's just a tick higher, and we'll see how it goes tomorrow.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.